Well, good
Well,
evening.
hey, Rodney, how are you?
Good. How about you?
Good, good. Good. We were
Good.
looking to talk to you. I like how you got your name just as Cats now.
Yeah, well, that's my login on my new computer.
Oh, it is? Okay. Okay. That's very appropriate. So, so how you doing?
I'm doing good. How about you guys?
Good.
Good, good. Pretty busy here, typical summertime for us.
Mm. Oh, obviously we're gonna. We wanted to talk to you about the diamonds going across the diamonds at Cats on crosstown movements. There, have you found anything out or no?
Oh yeah, it was yeah, I found it. It's a really simple fix.
Oh my! Oh really?
Yeah.
we we were doing all kinds of tests. You're gonna so I'm guessing that the fix to go across is gonna be put in when you put in the other fixes too. The one like we had previously.
Yeah.
I gotcha.
Beautiful. Yeah, we were trying all different things, Rodney. I was on my simulation one last night for about, I don't know, a half hour, 40 minutes, just trying different things, trying to call on, doing anything and everything, and it wasn't coming, and it was acting exactly the same as it was on what I posted. So,
Hmm.
no, glad to hear that you found what the issue is. What is it in the code that's causing it?
Okay. There's following the prototype, there are relay locks that the prototype uses in the field logic. Yeah,
Hmm.
each one corresponds to a relay.
Right.
Okay. And what I did in the code was to make things really simple. I used a set data structure. And so that way I can look at all the locks at once. And if
Okay.
any of them are set, then I turn the signal red,
Gotcha.
right? Okay.
Hmm.
Okay.
So that and furthermore, the locks work are unidirectional because if you have a chunk of track that has signals on both ends, then there's one set of locks that goes one way and one set that goes the other way.
Hmm.
You
That
have to do
makes
that
sense.
because of direction and stuff.
Right.
Okay, now what makes the diamonds unusual is that it's not only the locks on the track, but you have to look at the crossing locks. You,
Hmm.
why do you have to do that? Well, if you've got a route, for example, on the crossing, then you need to turn on basically simulate a lock on your track so that you don't run two routes across each other. Okay,
Hmm.
and because of the way I did it, it's fairly elegant. It uses what's called a set in Java, and I passed in the set of locks that were active at a time to the signal, and then I just used the same set to look at the crossing tracks, and I should have ignored um, the fouling lock basically on the cross track, and I didn't. So
Okay.
because on the cross track it gets propagated because you need to you're crossing the signals, the perpendicular signals need to know if they've got if they're looking at a fouling point or something. And so that was confusing than the track we were looking at.
Okay.
So what? And now this what do you call it? A glitch or whatever's been in there for quite a while now, right?
Yeah, right.
And what surprises me is that nobody else has had problems. We found it the minute Rob programmed the diamond. I mean, there's got to be somebody else with. I know, like we mentioned, Lehigh and Keystone at Bethlehem has it, and I know they downloaded the new one right away when there was stack commands and stuff like that placed in there, and they never said anything about it. I mean, it shocks me.
No, because it's in the crossing tracks. Um, Often it was hidden by something else, namely, if you tried to set it, well, typically, okay, what looked like on the Lehigh and Keystone was that well it was pretty much a pure diamond, two tracks crossing each other, and then they had tracks that kind of took off the corners, the diagonals, and
Right,
right. And so what would happen then? They could see it under certain situations, but typically, if your diagonal tracks aren't thrown right, then you'll get the same error, but you'll look at it and say, oh, I see. Um, these connecting tracks need to be changed, and they would change them, and that would clear up the immediate problem that they saw, but it also cleared up the problem would clear up the problem with the crossing tracks. You guys saw it because your plant, so to speak, crossed the two edges of a turnout, right?
right,
It went through two legs of the turnout, and by definition, one of those is always going to be fouling, right? You either
right.
set for the main, in which the diverging route is fouling, or you set for the diverging, in which the main is fouling. And so you were 100% going to get it.
Oh,
Whereas, and there's no way you can get away from it because no matter how you throw the offending turnout, you're gonna set it to the other. You're gonna catch it on the other side.
oh, that's interesting. So you're saying those because they had connecting tracks to the diamonds at Lehigh and Keystone that they could circumvent it in some particular ways. They might not have known what they were doing, but they got it by it that way. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
because
So basically, um, where they would see it, the diagonal that connected the two, if you want to call it the two directions on the diamond, um, typically you would throw those together. You would either take the I don't know what you call it. It's not an interchange, but you go from, vertical to horizontal or horizontal to vertical on the panel or something like that. You throw them together. And um, if you were not, if you're staying on the same dimension, in other words, staying horizontal, then typically the verticals were also always cleared. But as soon as you threw um, the diagonal to go from vertical to horizontal or vice versa, you threw both ends of it. Okay.
right,
And so then if you tried to set a route, say on the vertical, you'd say, well, coming up from one of the frog ends of the turnouts that form the diagonal, you say, well, you get a conflict. You say, oh yeah, I see that. I can't do that because I'm running into the fouling points of a turnout. And then they throw the turnout, and that would typically throw both the fouling on the vertical and the fouling on the horizontal, and that would clear up both of them. So it all
oh,
depended upon how the turnouts were set.
oh, and since ours was just a straight track crossing, we would never have an opportunity to see that happen on ours, right?
Yep, you're going to see it every time because one of your crossing tracks is always going to be fouling.
Okay, cool. Well, and what puzzles me is is the a reason an X worked through there though. That circumvented it somehow.
That what worked?
That what NX worked when you used NX.
Yeah, yeah, because it used a different algorithm for checking for safety.
I was wondering about that. If you use a different algorithm for the NX, I
Yeah,
wondered about that. If you set it up to act differently, I wondered.
yeah, yeah. Because the reason I use a different algorithm is because if you're doing, I guess I've always heard called a quick route, is just clicking on the signal
Right, right.
because the what you're trying to do is the code is saying, is there a route from here to the next signal using the current configuration of turnouts? Because
Mhm.
you can't move any, right? So
Right, right.
is it safe to go from here to the next signal? Whereas in X, what you're saying is not, is it safe to go here from here to the next signal? The question you're asking is it possible to go from here to the next point and if it's currently not set that way, I'm going to throw the turnouts to get it that way.
Okay.
So it's that's why you have to use a different algorithm. It's not, is it safe, but is there a route from here to there?
Gotcha. That makes sense.
Yeah. And that
Yeah.
surprised me too. But then when I started looking at the code for the NX, I said, oh yeah, it uses a different algorithm for determining safety.
Yeah, I just happened to trip upon it when I was experimenting with it, and I thought, how else can I set a route other than just clicking on the mast? And
Yeah.
I going through the menus, and I was thought, oh, I can let's try it with an NX, and all of a sudden it worked. I was shocked, that it came in just like it's supposed to. And
Hmm.
I went over to the layout last week and ran the same scenario in the field in real life, and it worked exactly the same as it did on the sim. So and the aspect was showing correctly in the field using an NX.
Hmm.
So it verified everything that we were discussing on the thread there. So,
Hmm.
but
Yeah, I was surprised too to see the difference, but
yeah, yeah, we thought we thought it would be we get an interesting answer from you, and we did. So,
Yeah. That,
but we kind of figured though that when you saw what we did, it was you think, okay, what do I gotta what went on here that's different than everything else you've had to deal with, with the way we set our routes up and everything like that. So yeah, it's a completely different setup for an interlocking than pretty much anybody else has. So
yeah, no, I can't say it's illegal or anything, but it's definitely something I didn't test.
right, I kind of figured as much. Yeah, because I remember a couple months ago when I showed it to you and Steve Davis, and you came back and said, "Oh, that let me know what your results are for that. That's going to be interesting."
Hmm.
And sure enough, it's definitely was the case. Hey, Kantorski, we lost you on video, and I don't know what's going on with your audio.
oh, you're here? You got me
Oh
at all?
yeah, okay, yeah, I
Okay.
lost the video. We lost the video. At least I did.
Yeah, I wonder whether it timed out or something. I mean,
All right, yeah, I can still hear you, no problem. But
oh really? Let me see.
yeah,
Let me click on this thing here. Start video. I don't know why it went out.
hmm. Yeah, nothing.
No, no, it's not.
Interesting. Interesting. Okay.
Okay,
We
well,
at least we can still hear you though. So
yeah, that's interesting. I don't know why why I'm gone. I
right,
can't. Well, reload page maybe. I don't know. I'm dealing with Richie's computer.
right, right. Nope. No, I think we just lost him completely there, Rodney.
Yeah, looks like it.
Let's see what he does here. I thought he would just be on his phone, not on our friend's computer over there.
All right, now I should be back on there. It looks like I don't know why it's not. Well, whatever. It shows.
Yeah, that's all right. We can hear you. That's all matters. So
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what we were saying is, Rob, we mentioned that we put exit signals in there on the diamonds, and that wouldn't work for the NX after that when we put the exit signals in, which we kind of needed that on those diamonds.
Well, looking at the pictures you posted, and they're quite helpful on the website, whatever. Um, if the tracks are so short, so I don't think you need the exit signals. And yeah, they didn't make any difference because the fundamental problem is the cross tracks had uh, basically they were marked as being fouled, and
mhm.
and anything you put there isn't going to get rid of that.
Okay, because a lot of times we in that particular thing is just a restricting move across a railroad crossing at grade, obviously, and as there's sometimes that cars ultimately will be foul of that circuit where we got to get an engine over there because there's an industry real close there. So I'm just saying that, we're hoping that I would assume that once you put that fix in, it'll work. So,
Yeah, it's I generated a little file myself panel just to test it all out, and also that way I went through and traced what was happening going on, and as soon as I put that fix in, everything worked.
Okay.
oh, that's great. Video shows coming back for me. You see me now or no?
Yep. Yeah, I see it now.
What about other things, Rodney? Like I remember one of the things was we talked about this was stack commands. Um, you had they had to happen in sequence the way you put them into the prompt, if I recall correctly. Not that I'm concerned about that really. I don't know how much we'll use that, but it'd be nice to see it work. Like whatever happens first goes.
That was fixed probably 2, 3 years ago, and we've been testing on layouts around here, and it works just fine.
Oh, good. I didn't know that. Okay, so how many? There's got to be a limitation in the number of stacks you can put in, though, right?
Um, There'll be a limitation is the amount of memory you got in your computer.
Okay, well,
I don't think we need to worry about it, Kantorski. Then
no, okay, we don't.
definitely not.
No, we don't have to worry about that.
I just from a practical standpoint, from what I've seen of people using it, is typically you don't want to do more than 2 or 3 because otherwise you're going to get very confused and all of a sudden things are going to be happening and you say, "Why was that?" It's just too hard to manage.
No, I understand. Did you ever hear any problems happening? I'm sure you have with some of the cars are not shunting properly, and all of a sudden the command goes out and the train derails, or anything like that. Or have you heard of that yet? Or
You mean of the cats throwing a turnout under a car?
well, not because it's cat's fault, because there's the shunts are not proper on the cars. The resistor wheels. All of a sudden, it thinks there's a gap and nobody there, and then bang, over it goes. I'm sure that's happened.
With a stack command on, Rodney.
That command on.
Um, I have not seen it, but you're absolutely right. That'll happen because if you just sit and you watch trains move, you'll see that the detection will go on and on. Um, Typically, if you think about it, um, that if you lose detection in the middle of a train, um, it's not going to be too bad. Um, but no, I have not actually seen a because the repercussions of that happening is that the stack kicks and so it starts throwing turnouts under cars.
Right.
And I haven't seen that happen. And again, I think it's because, well, first of all, I've got um there's a little bit of code in there that says, did this really go away? In other words, the detection went away. And then Kat says, okay, I've got this route stacked and now it looks like it's clear. I'm going to wait 4 seconds and I'm going to check it again. And so if the detection comes back within like 4 seconds, then it'd be like it never happened. So the only time would be if you have a dropout for more than 4 seconds and it's in a place that causes uh, uh, the route between two signals to drop, or in other words, to clear, that you'll get a problem.
Oh, so there's a built-in delay on the stack?
Yep,
Okay, all right.
for just that reason.
No, I get it. Yeah, okay. That'll hurt our operation a little bit, huh, Rob? Have you used that?
Yeah, well, like I said, I don't know how often we'll use it. That's the thing. I mean, it's hard to tell right now. But when I have tried it down there, Rodney
Yeah.
or Kantorski, I have tried it down there, and I definitely noticed that like it's but Black said there like 2 seconds or about, as all of a sudden I'll hear the switch go over, like the control go out for it. So you know.
That's pretty good. 4 seconds ain't much, but it sounds like a big time on our railroad, right?
Yeah,
you know, we we're usually making what our friend in Pennsylvania, there's like a friend of ours, Roy Ward, says you guys make these Hollywood meets where where a guy just clears and away we go out the other end. But so we're looking at it from a dispatching aspect of trying to keep stuff going.
yeah. Well, 4 seconds you can tolerate.
No, no, that's fine. But I mean, like with LCC, I'm sure we could build delays in there too with the lifting the circuits too if we want longer than it's actually does, or even shorter or whatever. There's a certain release time,
Yes.
and it's not that long. Probably 1 second on LCC, right, Rob? Something like that, maybe.
Yeah, I'd say something like that. But I know you can put in debounce in. You have that option under adjustments, Rodney.
Yeah.
So it's just, you can set it on cats that do that too. But an LCC, will give you that option as well. So, but the way that you have it set, it's fine the way it is.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's good. Yeah. It's,
Because
that's
that actually is a little bit different than putting a debounce in. Because there are various reasons for why your detection will drop out on you. And, a debounce may not be quite good enough.
Okay. Gotcha.
um, um, we just out of curiosity, a little subject off of cats. The layouts you've dealt with, Rodney, for detection on cars with surface mounted resistors on the axles. Do most people that you deal with, what do you have, 10,000 ohms on either end of the axles, or don't you follow that stuff? I'm just curious.
No, no, I've been involved in some of that. Most of what I've seen done is, I think, yeah, 10K on the outer axle on each truck. So
Right.
it's you want them on both ends, not just one end, but both ends. And this is our test case is really an in-scale layout, and a lot of his cars aren't weighted, so we see frequent dropouts.
Yeah, we noticed that when we put some. I mean, we've had issues trying to put them on. We don't have anything standardized yet. We only have a few cars we've done it to, and we've had issues where they worked fine with 10,000, and other ones we lost them. Where they disappear. Other ones didn't work at all, but it was probably the way it was painted or whatever. Uh, so I was just wondering because a lot of times you put your finger on the car, it shunts.
Yes.
And we had a fellow stop by here that lives close to Rich's house here where I'm at, to where the layout is, and he had a car, and I don't think does he have any detection on his layout, Rob, or does he go visit other layouts? I can't remember. What's his
I
name?
believe he visits other ones. I don't think he has his own, if I
Yeah,
recall correctly.
but he went through the effort of putting a 22K resistor on every axle, and I said, wow, that's a lot of work and that, but his car never failed to shunt at all, and it wasn't a very heavy car.
Yeah, that could work.
That's a lot of work to put that on there, but I figure once you got the car apart, you might as well go for it. I mean, like I know Dave Abel's on the Onondaga cutoff. He uses cats and that. He's got a 3.6K resistor on the end of each car, and he never has a shunt loss, he says. But the obvious problem is you get too many cars on the layout, then all of a sudden you have to have boosters because you're starting to suck up juice then with just the shunting.
True. Very true.
Yeah, and I don't know what point that is because I don't want to get to a point on layout where I'm having to add boosters just because we chose the 3.6K instead of trying to go with the 10s or maybe the 22s like on every axle. I like that the best, but that's a lot of work and to do it right.
Yep. Well, the other thing I remember is that there's geometry and physics involved in all this stuff too, because as the truck rolls down the tracks, it may start rocking a little bit, and 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 so you may lift an axle just temporarily, for example, particularly going over a turnout.
Yeah.
Um, so it's not that the resistor is bad. It's just that um, even if your cars are weighted, they're still so light that just in moving you're going to lose contact on the rails once in a while.
Yeah, yeah. I did notice too, though, that when once you start operating, the cars start moving for some reason. They don't seem to lose the shunt as much. Then once they start moving, I don't know whether it has to do with just the wheels being cleaned off, just that little bit of current, or or just the delays in the track circuit picking up or whatever. It seems to straighten out.
Yeah, it's all the above.
Yeah, but I know we have a friend that belongs to a club down in or goes to a club in Jersey, and they got it mandatory to have a resistor wheels. Every axle is a resistor wheel set for the entire layout. I can't think. You remember what Brett goes to there, Rob? Or no?
I forget what club it is down there. I forget. He told us last year. I can't recall
Yeah,
who it is, but yeah, he did say that though.
yeah. It, but yeah, that's one of our big hassles coming up is putting the resistors on every car. There's a ton down there too.
Yeah, understand. Well, you guys are HO, so it's not quite as bad as Zen scale.
No.
Yeah, definitely. Agreed with that.
Hey, Rodney, I know you mentioned before you went to Parker's layout.
Yeah,
Because that's probably what, an hour from you or so?
30 minutes.
Oh, that's
No, it's
cool.
like from me to Rich's house, son, basically, about a half an hour. Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Did he look for your advice on a bunch of stuff when he was putting it in, or because
No, no, John pretty much did it all by himself. Um, he studied the literature and I guess what we'd say are the best current practices. And he had a few questions, but basically he built the panel himself. He did put in all the electronics pretty much by himself. I didn't consult at all. And so he, yeah, I didn't have much to do with it.
That's surprising. You and I figured that Rodney built the panel for him, but obviously not the case. That's surprising.
yeah, I figure with you being there, you would have had you called you up for advice there.
Well, every once in a while he'd say, "Well, how do I do this and how do I do that?" And it was a good test bed because if I'm trying to remember right, there were some settings because it's a Digitrax system, and there were some things we played around with the op switch settings in the command station because certain things would it is easy to just take up all the real time. Particularly, there was one setting that didn't work at all, and I don't remember what it was. He had to turn something on, op switch setting to slow things down. Um, but he tried to take all of his signals and put them into a flashing mode, and he let cats do the flashing,
Yeah.
so it did the timing, and that just brought the whole system to its knees because there's so much local net traffic.
Wow.
Well, oh yeah.
Interesting.
Nick and Shan told me that that when he was putting cats in on the Lehigh and Keystone originally when it happened, he says you put it in a flashing mode or test it mode for the signals or whatever it is through GMRI, it the whole railroad come to stop everything.
Yep.
But while LCC, it really because you got that good feature, just release hold or put hold on, and the field does all the work like the prototype. We never have that problem. We can pile everything we want into it with LCC.
Yep.
It really works good. That's a great system, man.
Yeah, our traffic monitor doesn't overload when we do that, which would be like the local net there, Rodney, Kintorthy. That's like
Yeah, yeah, but
basically
at
what
the
it,
same time, I think your LCC is a lot faster too, because I think the Digitrax is like a 22 kilohertz signal or something like that, and your LCC is what more like Ethernet speeds or something.
yeah, it's much faster. It's like 4 times as fast, if I recall. I forget what Dick Bronson told us a couple of years ago. I forget what the exact number is, but it's much faster.
Yeah,
But then again, Rodney, like each node that you program does the flashing because we have different nodes on different signals, and you can see if you as you observe them at the same time, the flashing is out of sync with you can with the other node because the node itself is doing all the work. So It's just the only thing on that data line I think is information about event IDs. Is all it's shooting event IDs across, and you
Mhm.
identify your node. Am I right, Rob? That's
Yeah.
basically
Yeah,
it.
I mean, it's not like it's sending across, oh, this is flashing, this isn't, whatever. All it's just doing is sending the event ID out into the network and everything's looking at it. And then something, whatever mass needs it, oh, I got to set it to this combination of wires to get the correct aspect up, and it does its thing, basically.
Yeah, my career was in real-time systems and stuff like that. And the general rule was if you got something that's really time critical, you push it out as close as you can to the where the thing that's of needs the timing. And that's what LCC does.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a real good system. Real happy with it.
Is there anything else on CAT you've been working on or thinking about, updating or upgrading, or a new idea in your head, anything like that?
Yeah,
Or,
yeah. I got a couple things I want to try to get this fix out to you guys. And what's holding it up is two things. First of all, is the log4j. Um, the library's changed because the old log4j library apparently has it was vulnerable for hackers and stuff like that.
okay,
And so back around Jamrai 5.4, they went to a different library.
right, right,
Okay, and I wanted and that requires could be some changes in the code to support it. And I played around with that, and I know what changes need to be done and how the new library works. So then the question is, can I blow it back into the old one? Because I got a bunch of, I still have people out there using Jamrai 5.0 and things like that. And I
right, right,
think, and it looked like Jamrai 5.0 was actually shipping a safe library. So it's been shipping a long time. So if I just do the update to cats, then it should work on the older systems too. So
gotcha.
I'm worried about backwards compatibility, and I need to satisfy myself that if I make this change, I'm not going to got a whole bunch of people, that and and it looks like even if it's not in the older versions of Jammer, I think they can take the new libraries and run them in the old ones long. But then you get into, well, does this work under Java 11 and 8 and stuff like that? So
Right.
everything's tied together, and I'm concerned about pulling on one thing and breaking something somewhere else.
Yep, understood.
Yep.
Totally get that. Yep.
Yeah. Then the other thing that the real hang up, and every time I address I get more and more confused. And it has to do with how to handle moving turnouts. You say, well, that should be really simple. I mean, you just send the command and it goes. But when we get into problems, then is if you've got two turnouts that are ganged together, for example, on a crossover, right?
Mhm.
And you set up a route on one side of it, or you want to set up a route on one side of it, so you throw the turnout, and that's going to throw the turnout on the other side. And it's not when I say is that it's the other side doesn't know that it's supposed to switch, if that makes sense. Okay, so
Mhm.
you click on one side and the other side didn't receive the click, so it doesn't know it's supposed to throw. And sometimes that's okay, unless you put in another feature which is called override, because I got several users who want to be able to, they don't trust their crew. In other words, the crew can throw a turnout without dispatcher permission, and they want Cat to throw it back, right?
Right. Right.
Okay, so you put those two things together, and you have one turnout. The dispatcher throws one, Cat sees that the other one threw as well, and says, "Well, it must have been somebody local who threw it. I'm going to throw it back." And you get into this case of they're moving back and forth. You get an infinite cycle of throwing and throwing and unthrowing because they're locked together. Um, that's one problem. Then another problem that's really, really subtle. is that this gets they complicate each other. Is that you've got a turnout and somebody threw it in the field, and it's okay. Somebody threw it in the field, but the way the turnout is set up, you have a command that throws the turnout, and the feedback is not based on the command. For example, you put a sensor,
Right.
okay?
Mhm.
So the feedback comes back and it says, okay, this is the way. Let's say the last time cats threw it, it's normal, straight through. And out in the field, they throw it to a diverging route. So then cat sees it's diverging, changes the display and all that kind of stuff. Then the guy releases the track authority and says, okay, I'm giving permission back to cats to move it. And the dispatcher now sees in the field that it's been thrown for diverging, and he wants to move it back to normal. Simple thing to do. The problem is because the way JMRI works is that JMRI thinks that the turnout is still normal because that was the last command that it saw. And
Oh,
it doesn't connect the feedback to the turnout. Okay. So the dispatcher clicks on it and Cats JMRI tells the turnout go back to go Cats tells JMRI to set back to normal. JMRI looks and says, well, you're already normal, so I'm not going to send that out. Okay, so then
oh,
at a higher level, then Cats has got to say, okay, I need to either understand that's going to happen or I need to move it back to normal before I do anything so that I don't have this missynchronization between the feedback and what I think that it actually is. And that then ties in again with this thing about moving the turnouts and having them overwritten. So it's a very complicated problem, and I think I just need to getting to the point where I think I just need to do some simplification on it, saying you can't override if you're doing if you get turnouts ganged together, and that may be the way I have to handle it.
really? Okay.
So yeah, it's been trying to figure out, and it's a fairly complex problem. I'm trying to figure out how to handle that.
Because I know on LCC we have the opportunity there to, what is it, Rob? Uh, just veto certain things by
Mhm. Yeah.
and you can give the control to anybody who wants it, right? Let's put either dispatcher or however you're going to do it can say turn it on or off or whatever, and local control in
Yeah, well,
LCC.
even then, it's not a question of vetoing. It's a question of the last command from the computer not matching the feedback from the layout.
Okay, all right, yeah,
I get what he's saying, Rod. It'd be like the control normal would be active when the sensors are reversed.
Yep,
And when you go to throw I click on it to go back to normal, it's going to do it just like we do at startup. It'll say it's already normal. I'm not going to
yep,
send out the command to throw it normal again.
yep,
okay, I get
So
what you're saying.
that's what's going on there.
yep. You got it. And so the problem is then, that then interacts with what does the cat's display show? Because
Right.
typically when cats wants to send out a command to throw the turnout, it'll go into some indeterminate state on the panel. So you can see that
Which is exactly what's happened at startup, Rod. That's exactly why a lot of times remember we at startup we go to throw it and we go out of correspondence. That's exactly what's going on there.
Oh, really? Okay, that's the thing.
But
So
see, since I run the script to set them all reverse and set them all normal, it cycles all the switches, so everything's in sync.
yep,
oh, okay, all right, I
That's
get.
why I have to do that. But once I do that, it's fine. I've had no issues with it once it goes into sync. But that's why it's startup. It's nothing's in sync, and that's why you'll hear switches go. You'll hear it go reverse or normal on the field, and then I got to run the script both ways, and then everything works right.
Yep.
That's why.
Yep.
Then it's all caught up. Okay.
Yep, exactly what it is.
Yep. So so let's assume that happened. So the feedback says that you're reversed, and the JMRI thinks that you're normal because that was the last command that was sent. So typically, I have to make sure that the GUI says, at the mouse button level says, okay, the dispatcher throws it. CATS is going to tell JMRI once you go normal, JMRI is going to ignore it because you are normal. So you're out of correspondence. So if the user clicks again, then CATS will say, okay, JMRI, let's make it reverse, which is what your second script does. Your first one puts it normal and your second one makes it reverse. And then JMRI say, okay, and it'll do it, but then, and that'll clear out the out of correspondence and you'll start getting the syncs back up.
Okay, yeah, because we've always had tiny issues when we started up, and nothing major, but like you said, yeah, be out of correspondence and that. Right, okay.
And that's really subtle, and it's tied into the way that JMRI works, which is to say, I'm not going to send the command if it's not going to change anything. And I understand why it works that way, and it makes sense. It's just that it gets confused. It can make things confusing.
Right, right. Okay. All right. Well, that makes sense. So you're okay. So you're looking at some kind of way to override that. Not a fix, but some way that is that what the conversation started? That I
Yeah,
understand.
I think, yeah. Well, the override, there's an override switch, and most people aren't going to use it because my feeling is that if your crew is not getting permission to throw switches, you need to discipline your crew, right? Because I mean, if you guys have worked on the railroad, what
Right.
happens if you do something you don't have permission?
You're out of service most likely if
Mhm.
it's serious.
Right. And we can't do that on a modern railroad. Our guys, you try to run it prototypically, but the guys who they're not professionals, and so you can't say, okay, you're off the crew now because you threw that turnout when
Oh no,
you
but
didn't have permission.
we got an idea if they once we get operational with the signal CTC, we got an idea. If you run a red signal, it's $1 penalty. They'll listen up, and then it goes into the fund for pop or for soft drinks or whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Yeah,
So I
what is it,
think,
Rod? $2 for a rear ender and $5 for a head on. I think
No,
that's what we have.
I
It's
just
something
said
like that.
any collision, yeah,
Yeah, that's what it is.
any collision or just a simple stop signal violation is a lot cheaper, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Some of these guys got to have a fistful of singles when they show up. Then.
But like you said, Rodney Blank, at least we put it to good use. It goes for the pop at our friend's house. So when we're over
yeah, no, I understand exactly what you're doing.
there. Yeah,
It's
yeah.
not, it's not like it goes in anybody's pocket.
Right, right.
So, yeah, but that's pretty funny.
But
No.
the nice thing about the override, and sometimes the override doesn't work. It all depends upon how your layout is wired. Because the simple way of doing things is you just have a double pull, double throw switch out there, and it's either in CTC mode or it's in manual. And if it's in manual, the computer can't move those points. So that's yet another complication. So the override doesn't work. The computer will try and move the points back, but if you've got a switch in there that's disconnected them, it doesn't do it good. And then that then also reflects back into the what the panel shows and stuff like that. So this whole area of how do you would think that controlling turnouts is easy. It ain't.
No, that was the hardest thing for us doing LCC was figure out how to get the controls of the turnouts to work. Once we did that, we made good progress from there. But that was like the hardest thing for us.
Well, we've designed a layout to have a switch on Rodney, on either to switch it to ABS or CTC for the entire layout. And if it's in CTC mode, there is no option at all for a crew to throw a switch whatsoever. It's
Mm,
interlocking, and it's something that's never done on the prototype except in an emergency, at least on CSX.
yeah,
Uh, where the switch won't go over and you got to go into hand throw, and that you don't even hear of it happening that often. So, and there's no, if a maintainer is out in the field using an emergency panel for testing or for whatever reason, he flips the toggle and it goes into manual mode and it shows on a dispatcher screen, and then he's got control of the switch and the signals too.
yeah.
So,
And that
so
that'd be a good thing to do, but that again, from a model railroading perspective, that requires more stuff out at the field, so to speak, so that you know when the turnout's been put into manual and stuff like that. And a lot of people just aren't going to put that kind of stuff in. You need another sensor and something to tell the computer.
yeah, I believe on Dave Abley's Onondaga cutoff when Enshan helped him design that, he actually used a tortoise switch machine with the contacts on it, and they have on cats. If you ever saw his panel, there's like a little turnout on top or whatever. It doesn't make any sense. It's not connected to anything, but they throw that and it gives local control to that interlocking is the way they got it set up. And then the dispatcher throws it back and locks it out. That's the way they can do it if they want to go to their panels. But I've operated on his layout. I've never seen anybody use emergency panels. It's always just grab your radio and yell at the train dispatcher. It's a lot easier and more fun too.
Yeah, yeah.
And
I think cats can support that type of thing. I don't know if anybody's ever done it, but I tried to put that kind of thing in there, um, such that cats will, if you've got something that says I've gone into manual, you can tell cats and it'll do something. In fact, I think it puts a little again, I don't know if anybody's used it. It puts something that looks like a square root sign next to the turnout, showing when it's locked and unlocked.
oh, really? Okay. Just or for the entire interlocking, or just the turnout by turnout,
Turnout by turnout.
oh, really? Okay, because I know with LCC we'd have the option to program that if we wanted to. That way, if we would have designed it that way to just have a veto, just one interlocking to release the veto by the dispatcher or whatever, and he puts it in manual control. That is an option, I'm sure, and I'm sure he could easily do that with cats. We just set it up to send out an event ID to the system, and it would unlock that interlocking for manual control. But we don't we've Rob and I talked about it for a long time. We made decision not to touch anything like that at all. Just
Right. It was just easier on our end. It was for what we would actually use it for, the little that we use it for, the amount of work we have to do implement that wasn't worth it.
yeah, and besides, it'd be too much chaos. People,
Yeah.
have the dispatcher throw it just like they do on the prototype in most cases. So
Yeah, that again is a part of the beauty of LCC is you can put that kind of stuff in your notes.
right,
Mhm. Yeah.
but okay. Well, I see somebody commented before on the cats. You were talking to your brother there because you were only two guys on it, and they said somebody put a comment in there after Eric what's his name? Eric
Eric
posted.
Smith.
Eric posted it. The guy put the comments in there. He says, "Hey, there was a good big discussion, but I heard nothing of anything with cats or anything." You know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I wasn't able to make it on last month because we had done our cut in with that diamond in the middle of June
Mm.
when we did it like on the LCC side of things. And we pretty much got that. We got it all set. So I started working on the cat side, and I didn't have it ready for the call last month. So and I couldn't make the call last month. So we tried to get it to where I had it going before tonight's call. So fortunately, it's worked out well.
Yeah, you guys gave me the right information. It was very easy to track down.
Good. Yeah, the
And
biggest that we figure when we try to put a post out there, you need as much information from us as possible.
yeah,
It's try to send pictures, diagrams. If I could send a video of a simulation, I would do that. But we know any bit of information we can send you might help you out. So glad we were able to help on both of these things that we have found.
And
Yeah,
you're helping us. Thanks.
Yes, immensely
Yeah.
helping us.
You know,
yeah. I've got all kinds of stuff here that I fixed. I just need to get through this turnout problem. I
Yeah,
painted
that's a big
this.
one you got there. That is a big issue. I understand the complexity of that for you. That's not easy at all. So,
Yeah, I painted myself into a corner, and I knew that was going to happen. And things had been quiet for a while, and I said, okay, I'm going to tackle this turnout issue. And I went back and there were a couple other things I wanted to fix with it as well. And so I tore up the code, and then these other problems started coming in. And so I can fix those on, I either fix them on the good branch of the code or I fix them on the other branch of the code.
mhm.
So, and I mean, it's kind of like, you got one foot in the boat and one foot on the dock.
yeah.
Yeah. That's a good way of looking at it, right? Right. I can tell you this though, last week when I was over there and added the rest of our zone that we just put in, and I ran light power all the way around because everything would shunt obviously, and ran it all the way around and everything worked correctly. I mean, other than the problem we had with the signals going the opposite way, lining up the other way, which obviously you worked on. But other than that, everything worked correctly, and that was just like whew, when we got by that. So that was a big relief. But everything's working well otherwise. So
Good. Like to hear it.
Yeah, it's a great thing, great system, man.
mm,
Like I said before, it's way better than CSX's prototype. Holy man! Because I've had new employees come up to me and I'm explaining the boards to them, showing it to them in our crew room, and he says this doesn't make any sense the way it's set up. It's all over the place. I says, yeah. I says model railroad ones are 10 times better than this. So I don't know how they can put them poor dispatchers against that down in Jacksonville. It's just a horrendous system. Oh, terrible.
Do,
They
do
got
you,
sold a bill
do,
of goods.
yeah, do you know what system they're using?
No, I don't
it's
know.
it's a USS system. I remember that with the software that you had to log into to get into it. It was USS based.
Okay.
Was it? But what's Norfolk
Yeah.
Southern? Norfolk Southern has got a different system.
Yeah, it's not the same as CSX's. I forget what theirs is.
Yeah, I mean theirs is a lot better. I mean,
Yeah, but the way they have it set up and the graphics and all that kind of stuff.
I
I
mean
mean,
it's non-contiguous on CSX, Rodney, and they don't show all the automatic signals either. A lot of railroads went to that where they don't show it. And
yeah, CN doesn't either.
yeah, a lot, and I don't understand why they. Because if you look at some of the stuff back when New York Central was CTCing back in the 50s and 60s, they said, "Oh yeah, the dispatcher can see every block," which they knew was important. When being a dispatcher myself years ago, it is important. You can get a feel for how a guy's moving, to see
Yep.
every. And they don't have it anymore. It's just like they go off the end of the world in one interlock and they show up at the next. Good luck. That's 10 miles. The guy could be stopped. You'd have no clue.
Yep.
I mean,
Yeah, I imagine what probably all boils down to is just money, because to do that kind of fine detail and stuff requires putting some expense out into the field.
it probably does, but I think a lot of it had to do with decisions that are being made now that nobody that ever actually had to deal with the stuff. In my opinion, it's like they just think the best they can. Like the information's there. It's just like remember reading them road maps years ago when you could had a book and you had to like you had a whole city, but it was like about 25 pages in a book, and you had to flip through it, find where you were going next, and then move over there or whatever. It wasn't like an overview. That's the way they gotta deal with it dispatching. It's like it's horrible. Oh my god, it's horrible.
It's interesting, right? Because against CN, when with ATCS, I can see all their automatics, and the actual RTCs can't, which is just crazy. The rail fans can
Yeah.
see all the automatics and see what the running times are and whatnot, but the RTC who's controlling everything can't. It makes no sense to me. But That's why I'm here and not there, making those kinds of decisions. So,
Oh, I'm glad we got cats and not you.
yes, correct. That we have all our automatics, so I can see everything. I mean, I remember showing you, Rodney. Let me flip my screen here and see if I can do it. There it is. Yeah, there's that's the full one when it's all the way in. But that's my simulation that I run all my tests on. So, but yeah, it's better than what the actual CTC screens are. So,
Hey, Steve Black is here.
Hello, Steve.
Hi,
hi,
everybody.
Steve.
Hi, everybody.
How you doing?
Oh, pretty good. I just got a new proto throttle, my first one, and I was playing with it and totally forgot about this meeting. So, anyway, that's what I've been up to.
Oh, okay, yeah, because they said I thought you went in a different time zone or something because you're exactly almost an hour late to the minute.
No, it just happened that I got done playing with configuring the notches on the proto throttle so that the prime mover would notch up with each run 1, 2, 3, through 8. So no, and then I happen to remember meetings, so I missed a lot of stuff. It looks like.
Yeah, we had quite a bit of conversation about some of the stuff Rodney's helping us with on our layout.
Yeah. Well, I do have one question for Rodney when you guys get done with your other conversation.
No.
Oh, we're done. You go ahead. You go
Okay.
ahead.
Well, simple ABS. I've got 2-yard ladders, and if you put them back to back with a single track main line between them, I know the signals going from 1-yard ladder to the next looks to see if the yard that I'm on is occupied. If the turnouts are occupied, and then it looks at the main line, see if it's occupied, but then looks at the signal for the entry to the next yard. Well, so I get if I have a train or on the next yard, the block occupancy is red, I would get a yellow to leave my first yard and go to the other yard and then sit at a red light. And it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I'm probably not explaining this too well, but
yeah, I'm not quite following you. What you said, the yard lead and all that. I mean, how you?
oh, well, I have 2-yard ladders, put them back to back, 2 separate yards, 2 ladders with one single track main line between them.
But there's not a signal off of each. There's not going to be a signal off of each ladder track, is there?
Yes, yes.
Oh, so it's like treating it like an interlocking then.
Well, I'm not that familiar, but kind of. So if I'm sitting in the yard, I can get a yellow light, and I can proceed through the yard ladder. I can go out on the main line, but if there's something on the next yard ladder that has turned it block occupied, then I have to sit there on the main line until the yard ladder that I'm trying to get into clears. And that doesn't make sense to me. And maybe it's my way of thinking. I would think for an ABS system that I should include the next yard ladder block occupancy detector and say stay in my current yard until the next yard the turnouts are cleared so I can proceed. But I don't know. That's just
Okay, so what you got then is you got 2 yards, and the ladders are basically facing each other. So
no
if
back to back. That is, they they both funnel down to one main line between
Right,
them. Okay.
right.
Yeah.
So the points ends are facing each other. Yeah,
Points.
the single track.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It sounds to
Well,
me
it's
like
going to depend upon where you put your signals. If your ABS, okay, if you put a signal at the entrance to each yard
Yes.
to govern going into it,
Yes.
then that single track is pure ABS. And no, it doesn't look any farther than the next signal.
Yeah. That's, I know that's kind of what the rules are for ABS, but, so you see where a train could be leaving one yard and leaving that yard, it'd have a yellow caution because at the next yard ladder, it's occupied. And so it would get to the next yard ladder and it would sit on the main until the next yard ladder is clear.
but there's a signal governing another. There's two signals involved. One coming out of the yard that he's got to go by, and one entering the other one, right?
Yep. Yep. That's exactly right.
Well, yeah, you're treating the yard ladders like they're like separate interlockings almost to me. It's just like two.
Okay.
That's the way it looks like to me. An interlocking and then being a multiple switches. How many ladders are? How many tracks in the yard? Each one.
Well, there's 5 in one and 4 in the other.
And there's a signal to come off of each track, all 5, and a signal to go opposite direction off of 4, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you're treating them like interlockings, then, in my opinion, that's what you're doing, really.
Well, okay. Well, let's simplify and let's say you have 2 sidings with one single main line between the sidings. So you could leave one siding, get on the main line, and have to stop at the yellow for the siding because somebody's sitting there on the turnout block occupancy.
Right.
Okay, well, I guess that doesn't make sense to me, but is that because back in the days of ABS they used train orders and stuff?
Well, if that was pure ABS or APB, yeah, you'd have to have a train order for authority to move, because the signal doesn't convey authority; it would just convey protection. In ABS, that's why CTC you'd have a controlled signal at each end of the siding,
Okay.
and then you'd manually clear the signal, and then it's your authority to go.
Okay, and APB would look ahead another block beyond.
Well, I guess APB would really be practical if you had multiple blocks between your two interlockings.
Yeah, I don't. It's just one.
No, they don't. You wouldn't need it then. I don't think it would just be
Okay.
ABS because you're not dealing with multiple blocks where you have to have tumble down and all that stuff. It's just one block.
Yeah. Okay. Because I had thought about redoing the LCC logic, including the next siding turnout occupancy, but I know that goes against everything I've read. So, okay. Well, that's a quick answer to my question.
Yeah, yes, the answer is I would say you're looking at it wrong because if you think about it, you leave one yard and if the turnout to enter the other yard is set for the main, you basically would not get a red there.
Well, I get it read at the distant signal because somebody's sitting in the yard or in the turnout occupancy. My turnouts are all linked to the same block detector on that next yard.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, if you're using LCC, you can change it around anytime you want.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I'd say if you want exiting one yard to depend upon how the other yard is set, you get rid of those entry signals into the yard, and you make it one plant.
Oh. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I've physically already got them wired up, installed. But so when I was checking it out, I thought, well, this is odd. I'd leave my one yard and go towards the other yard, but if the other yard's blocked, then I got to sit there on the main line. Then and that would tie up all nobody's speak of without somebody going in reverse. But
Right.
yeah, okay.
You still on here, Rob? Or
Yep, I'm here.
okay.
Just listening to the conversation.
Yeah. Anything new and exciting going on?
Not here.
Okay.
Not really. We were discussing before you came on about all the little issues we had. Now Rodney has fixes for them, so
Great.
we're in good shape now.
Yeah, that's really good. I hope to install cats here pretty shortly, but it seems like I keep getting sidetracked. I've always wanted a proto throttle from Iowa Skilled Engineering. They finally became available, so I got one. Now I've spent days playing with it. There's always something to mess with. That's why I like the hobby.
Roger. But well, I'm going to get going here myself. I appreciate. What's the chances of you getting a camera, Rodney, so we can see you again?
I have one. The microphone I'm using here is on a camera, but I don't have it mounted. So if I turned it on, you'd just be looking at my navel.
Well, let's see what you can do to put it back on, man. We haven't seen you in a long time. We just see cats on the screen. 'Cause I used to like seeing you there.
Yeah, okay. I'll think about how I'm going to mount this thing.
Okay. All right, you guys. I'm gonna log out. So
Yeah, you have signals to install, Kantorski. Get to work.
yeah, I got to go down there and install it. I got to install CP36 today. The couple of signals there. Hey, by the way, Robbie, kid got the position light working. So we're
Excellent.
which we don't like. I don't like position lights normally, but we got it on the crosstown diamond there at 38, Rodney. Two different types of signals. We got color lights everywhere except for the crosstown at 38 that we were talking about. That'll be a position light signals, like a different railroad.
Hey, have you guys seen those We Honest signals? I keep reading about.
No, I haven't.
I've heard of them, Steve, but I haven't looked into them. No.
Okay, I keep seeing reference saying buying them and they're very inexpensive. They're made overseas in China. But anyway, I just thought maybe you guys had run across them.
No, not on our layout here.
No, we haven't seen them. But I mean, it'd be worth it. The trouble is that you can get a couple of them and try them out. See what you think. That's what I would recommend.
Right.
Well, I'd bought some of the Atlas HO gauge semaphore signals and I got a lot of money wrapped up in them, but I'd like to get a few more signals. And was looking at We Honest stuff.
Oh no, that'd be worth a try. Why not?
Yeah.
As long as it's functional, what's the difference? It's great. You can always change them later if you have to.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I think the main thing is if the yellows look yellow, the greens look green, stuff like that, particularly for a semaphore type signal.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
All right. Well, I'm going to head off as well. Kantorski, I'll be calling you in a couple minutes.
All right. Talk to you guys later.
Hey,
Okay.
Rodney, thank you so much for all the help and all the
welcome.
advice and everything here. So, pleasure to talk to you as always.
Yeah, when September might be hard it won't be possible to join probably because
No, we'll be he and Kantorski and I will be together the night of the call. So we'll talk to you in October most likely.
Yeah. So
Fair enough.
All right.
Okay.
Thanks so much, guys. Have a great night.
Have a good one. Bye bye.
Take care.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, how you doing?
Doing good. Losing weight, which is good for me. So yeah, I'm losing about 2 pounds a week on one of the oil OPL-1 drugs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, I'm looking forward to towards the end of the year, then get off it. I'm not sure how long. I'm kind of I'm on the minimum dosage
Mm-hmm.
and don't want to go beyond that. And it's really uh, anybody who's diabetic too. Um, it dropped my A1C almost 8/10 of a point, which is pretty big.
Yeah.
7.0 is the baseline, so it dropped it down to 6.6.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm real happy with that. Not hungry, which is good.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I know you can have some pretty strange side effects or other stuff from it. So anyway,
All these drugs can have rather strange side effects.
boy, there's like 3 pages of this can happen, this can happen, this can it's just ridiculous. But I'd worked with a gal for 30 years. She was my CPA, employed.
Mm-hmm.
I met her the other day. This girl walked up to me and asking if I knew her, and I said I had no idea. And it's somebody who had worked for me for 30 years. She had lost 140 pounds. Her hair went from colored to natural blonde, and then she wasn't wearing eyeglasses. I just didn't know who she was. Kind of embarrassing. So anyway,
100,
we got to talking. She and I got talking about stuff.
well,
Kind of,
140 pounds, that's another person.
yeah. Well, in her case, she was in the hospital dying. Um, the diabetes had gotten so bad, the weight had gotten so bad. Um, so for her, it's life saving, which is, um, I'm happy for her because I'd retired, I don't know, 12 years ago, and she retired, maybe 6 years ago. So I see it's hot out there, and what's going on?
Yeah. Yeah. It was supposed to get up to 100 today. I think it only made it up to 97 here.
Oh, geez.
No,
Yeah,
we got a high pressure system that's sitting over Colorado and it's pulling up heat from the desert Southwest, and it's supposed to start moving on here in another day or two.
that we had boy, July was just a horrible month for rain and heat, humidity. Then we get the ash from the Canadian forest fires. The air quality's been pretty bad for the last month. I mean, really bad. They're telling people don't even go outside certain days.
Yeah, that's all we've got because there's I think maybe half a dozen forest fires on the other on the west slope of Colorado, and when the winds are right, we get a lot of smoke.
Yeah, yeah. Otherwise, not a whole lot new going on around here. Like you said, been playing with that proto throttle that always wanted one, and certainly discovering things about it. It seems to be pretty well engineered. There are some questions I have about things, but I'll figure it out. It's fun.
So you got the diesel one, not the steam.
I didn't know they had a steam one.
Maybe that's still in development. I'm not sure, but I'd heard they were doing a steam.
Yeah, no, I only have one DCC steam engine. So No, I got the diesel one. Spring Creek finally, they called me. It, I talked to them maybe back in April, and they didn't get any until recently, so I had them send me one with the NCE um, connection.
Mm.
So just plug it in like you would a cab, the receiver, and everything worked right off the beginning. So sometimes things don't work, but this did. So I'm happy with it.
Good. Yeah, I
Yeah.
played with the Digitrax one several years ago, I think.
Oh, they're handheld throttle.
No, the proto cab.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah. So been working on my last mod or the bridge. Actually, um, I've got the bridge done. I just got to finish up one more module. Then I can run circles around my room. So, just working on different things. Heard from anybody?
Nope.
Yeah. We got the state fair going on here now. I think Mickey and Ty and Austin usually go to that. And Des Moines at the state fair, there's a big model railroad club there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And the guys down at Hawkeye down in Iowa City, they keep working on things. They had an open house during their, because they're located on the county fairground land. And so they'll have an open house coming up here in probably September, October.
I think I heard, were they getting kicked out?
No, well, they got kicked out of the original place
Okay.
downtown in Corville.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah, so the Johnson County Fairgrounds offered them property on the fairground. So they did fundraiser. They raised money. They built a brand new building, and I forget what the size of it is. I think you can find them on Facebook, the Hawkeye Model Railroad Club,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, they're going along with that pretty good. I donate stuff to them, surplus. I had a bunch of Walther turnouts and stuff that I knew I wasn't going to use, so I donated them. And I don't know if you're aware, I also donated my show motorcycle to Camp Courageous here.
Yeah, I saw the stuff on Facebook.
Yeah, they're going to have a drawing, not tomorrow, but the Friday after. They're going to draw a C1, the bike. I hope it wasn't somebody that bought the ticket because they knew me, because I don't want the bike back. Not that there's anything wrong with it, in case somebody else is listening. I mean, the bike runs great. It's just that with two Harleys in my garage, I was always bumping into it, and I just wasn't riding it anymore. So I'm glad I have the space now. But and you can only ride one bike at a time anyway.
Yep.
Yeah. So during the time I had it, I customized it a lot. It's not a bike that the general motorcycle person is, because it's just highly customized. It relies mechanically, it's great shape and everything, but it's just customized. Not everybody's going to like the looks of it. But anyway, So that's probably the biggest things going on right now. How's Liz doing?
She's doing good.
Good.
Getting ready to start subbing for school again. They start
Yeah,
up here next week.
they do.
Yep.
Wow. Wow, that seems awful early, but I
It,
guess
yeah.
based on what today's date is, yeah, it's not that far away.
Nope.
Huh.
Hey, were you going to Minneapolis for their sesquicentennial?
You know, I haven't seen anything about that. I
Hmm.
I know on Facebook they were trying to get people together, but I don't know. Is it going to be? I would think it'd be sometime this month, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I think it was like in 2 weeks or something.
Oh, okay.
Maybe a week. I'm not. I don't remember, but yeah, it's real soon.
Yeah, that would be kind of fun. I'll have to check because over here at Vinton, Iowa, the amateur uh, people that make fireworks, the pyrotechnic people, all the amateurs from throughout the United States, they come here on to Vinton, and it's called Boomtown. They put on they put on a tremendous show, and I think that's the last Saturday of this month, the 28th. I don't have the calendar in front of me, but then I also saw on Facebook after 20 years, this will be the last one they ever do. It's just gotten too much
Yeah.
for them. Anyway, it when you're sitting there in the grandstand, you'd swear you must be in a war because there's just explosions going off. They ignite barrels full of gasoline, and you can feel the heat from the explosions. It's I cannot imagine what it must have been like to be in a war, uh, based on the experiences sitting through a couple of those performances that they do. Man, just amazing. But they have amateur class, where kids build their own fireworks, and then they go on up to the pro level. And I don't know if the Etkin brothers go to that or not. J&M Fireworks from Mediapolis.
No, I'm not familiar with them.
They put on shows all over the world, like for the Olympics, and the two brothers. I forget the names. You remember the Etkin brothers?
Yeah.
Yeah, they've gotten to be quite famous in fireworks. They have a big place down there around Dodgeville. Um, if you look it up, J&M Fireworks, I think is the name of it. But they'll go, to the super, things like Super Bowl and stuff, and put on displays. So it's a big thing for them and the community. So that's basically it. So I'll let you go.
Okay.
Yeah, good chatting with you.
Good chatting with you too.
Okay, well, take care.
Yep. You too.
Bye.
Bye.